There are certain lessons that you can learn from others. There are some that you must experience firsthand in order to fully internalize. Those lessons invariably turn into reasons that propel you to continue creating and experimenting. Without these points of purpose, creation is bound to only be a momentary whim. Without these points of purpose, the desire to expand our knowledge and our skills remain just that, a desire. From firsthand experience, I am all too familiar with this. I let my love of photography slip through my fingertips the second that I began to understand how little I really knew. But as I have found the courage to be uncomfortable with the fact that I am very likely a mediocre photographer, I have learned 3 important reasons that have propelled me to continue to pick up my camera, to continue practicing, and to continue creating. Photography is a privilege. Whether it's on the street, behind patrons at an event, or among guests at a wedding, a camera gives you a certain privilege and authority. It gives you the privilege to capture people authentically. It gives you the authority to take a scene in and compose it to either limit or exaggerate certain elements of reality. Now, a common misconception of the camera is that it just captures reality. Almost devilishly, it does not. A camera does not capture reality, but a certain slice of it that the photographer has decided that they must bottle up. The misconception can surely be forgiven. They both share the same elements. They both contain people, places, or things that you may be intimately familiar with. But photography, unlike reality, lacks nuance beyond the still image that makes the final cut. Capturing a subject in a way that could be mistaken as reality is certainly a heavy task. Being a great photographer means that you are the sole owner of which images are culled and what particular elements speak to you. Depending on the composition, your settings, the focal distance, and the editing, the viewer may feel anything ranging from ecstatic mysticism to downright horror, even if the subject in both of these scenarios remained completely unchanged. With the privilege of that power, it is your responsibility as a photographer to express what you aim to express, and nothing more. Forced perspective of purposeful noticing. Without a deep understanding of photography, I found it easy to walk through life without noticing the delicate way that light paints our beautiful world. In order to be a great photographer, you are licensed the authority to notice how the sun wraps around the corners of buildings, or how it dissipates through the canopy of a tall oak. Yes, it is easier to walk through life without noticing the supposed marks of beauty that encompass our daily lives every time the sun rises in the east. But the ease of this way of living limits your opportunities to truly appreciate being alive. Noticing small things teaches you to appreciate our marvelous existence. The privilege to internalize a beautiful scene and immortalize it is what a camera really allows us to do. Great photographers are intimately aware of this subtle dance that light plays in all of our lives, revealing a powerful variable that most people simply do not notice. In many ways, this is a superpower. It's a sixth sense that allows you to sit in a moment and dissect how something as mundane as a shadow morphs your perception of the mood of a scene. It transforms you from the role of a passive consumer into an active observer. It is a surefire way of completely being in the moment. When a great photographer sees the perfect light, there is nothing else that matters in that moment beyond capturing it and ensuring that the perspective that they are so inspired by is caught by the little machine in their hands. In a culture that demands your attention on a million things at once, mastering photography is an act of defiance to completely occupy the space that you're standing in and manipulate light that others simply take advantage of. The barrier of entry is almost non-existent. At first glance, a low barrier of entry sounds like a curse. How much does being a great photographer really mean if every person with a smartphone and a preset is theoretically capable of creating a masterpiece? Your feed seems to be ever increasingly inundated with computational photography, creating a sea of noise that may prompt you to think, why even bother? The reason to bother is that photography as an art form has stopped relying on knowing gear inside and out to simply get an in-focus image or the correct exposure. The ability to take a seemingly nice-looking image is no longer an accomplishment, like it may have been in the days of film photography. With the introduction of digital photography, the technical barrier crumbles, the real barrier emerges. That being intentionality. A low barrier of entry means you don't need a $10,000 setup just to sit at the table. You don't need the blessing of big cinema or some legacy gallery curator to start telling stories. You can grab a crop sensor body, a cheap 35mm prime lens that feels like a plastic toy, and go out into the night. It forces you to realize that if your photos are boring, it's not due to your gear. It's not due to a lack of dynamic range, or a lack of burst mode, or a lack of usable focus modes. It is simply because your perspective was lacking. When the friction between an idea and its execution drops to near zero, the camera morphs from a complex piece of engineering into a direct extension of your curiosity. It becomes a tool for active observation, a reason to step outside, to take the long way home, and actually pay attention to how the golden hour light bounces off a rain-slicked side street. It gives you permission to be obsessed with the mundane. So yes, the barrier to entry is non-existent. Anyone can take a picture. But not everyone can make you feel the specific weight of a single fleeting second before it slips away forever. That's the work. That's why you keep picking up the tool, dialing in your shutter speed, and choosing to stay uncomfortable. Because the real magic was never in the specs. It was always in the willingness to just look a little closer.